This show's about when you have really good food.
With excellent wine.
It all comes together beautifully.
It can sometimes be
better than sex.
One of the beauties of Tasmania is you find vineyards in some of the most unexpected and stunning locations. These snow-capped peaks are in the northwest, and seeing all that spring snow falling around these fertile plains, it's no wonder this state is renowned for producing superb cool climate wines.
Oh, this is a sparkling. We can't call it a champagne, can we?
No, unfortunately the French don't allow us that, but this sparkling, like many in Australia, is made in the method champenois or method traditionnelle.
Now, Charles, you were telling me before there's one thing you want to do in relation to this lovely wine.
Absolutely. We stopped making the lovely Chardonnay from Lake Barrington Vineyard and the Pinot to just specialise in sparkling wine. And whilst winning gold medals is terrific, and this is a gold medal winner, my passion and my dream and my focus is to make the best sparkling wine in Australia, which means Tasmania.
Charles, talking to you reminds me of a story I remember reading about another Charles, Charlie Chaplin. His favourite tipple was champagne, but he said you can't drink it every day, otherwise it wouldn't be special.
I disagree. I think if you drank it every day, it would make every day special.
I like that way of looking at things.
One of the best cool climate fish is the oyster. And here, in southeastern Tasmania, they feel right at home.
What makes Pittwater, where we are now, so good?
This bay is in a catchment area that's got fresh water coming from one end and more oceanic water coming in the other.
Right.
And the water is mixing and been stirred up by the wind and the elements, and it produces, what we think are great oysters. So that's what we're looking at. Nice cover on the meat, nice meat to shell ratio in that shell. Just good presentation, and yeah.
There you go. Go on, let's see it.
I feel better already, Steve.
Better than sex.
Beautiful view here today down at South Arm. Perfect day, some people fishing off the rocks. We're going to be cooking some fresh Tasmanian oysters. The first thing we're going to need to do today is shuck the oysters. I've done a few earlier, so you don't need to see that. They're just sitting loosely in the shell. We've had a quick rinse. I'm going to grate some fresh wasabi. This is Tasmanian wasabi. It's a great product. There's not many places you can get this. So we're going to grate some wasabi on a microplane, just like that. You can place that just a little bit on top of an oyster. And then we're going to finish that with some Alexandra, the Lake Barrington Sparkling. Just a drop onto the oyster. And there you have it. Fresh Tasmanian wasabi, oysters and sparkling wine shooter.
No, this wasabi and the Tasmanian sparkling wine.
How was it?
Oh, every time I do this, I think it can't get any better, and it does. Oh, go on, have a drink then. Chin chin.
I'm on Tasmania's east coast, and it's not hard to see why the area is known as the state's playground. There's stunning scenery, and along the whole coastline, beautiful sandy beaches like this one. And an added bonus, it's always a few degrees warmer here. That's great if you fancy a dip in the sea. And one thing a lot of people don't know about the area, it's also famous for its vineyards. And there's a lovely one called Combe Bend at Swansea. And that's where we're headed to. Tom, is this the wine you've chosen for us?
Yes, this is the Devil's Corner Pinot Grigio.
And what made you choose this one?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, this vineyard that we're standing in at the moment on the east coast of Tasmania is the home of Devil's Corner, and it's proving to be an outstanding place to produce wine. And the second reason is the attributes of the wine, which marry so well with a whole range of fish and seafood. It's fresh, it's bright, it's crisp and it's aromatic, and that marries so well with those sort of dishes.
I've heard a word, Tom, and I don't know what it means, and I've always been a bit too shy of asking my wine buff friends. Terroir, what does it mean?
It really means the collection of all the influences on a vineyard that make it what it is. The soil, the location, the climate, the aspect, all those things combined together.
So this is the terroir?
And this is the terroir, and it ends up in the glass.
Lovely. Rodney, are these mainly working boats behind us?
They are. The majority of them are rock lobster vessels.
Now, I like the Tassie rock lobster. What makes it so good?
I think our pristine environment, the cold water, and just our location, you know, are probably the two major factors.
So even though we don't like the cold water when we go to the beach, it's good for the lobster?
Yeah, they love it. Love the cold water.
A friend of mine told me the way to tell the difference between a female and a male lobster is a little bit like with men and women, that the female lobsters a bit more shapely and they hold a bit of weight round their sort of bottom and the hips, same as us women.
I'm very pleased that you raised that, because I think if I did that and suggested that, it wouldn't be politically correct, but actually it's quite true.
Today we're going to be cooking some fresh Tasmanian crayfish, also known as the southern rock lobster. First thing we need to do is get a nice fresh tail, and we're going to cut that in half down the centre. Curl it up into a nice ball. So now we've prepared the crayfish tails, we're going to place them into a pan of clarified butter so they're just submerged for about 20 minutes, which will set the protein without cooking it and destroying the flavour and the integrity of the crayfish. Now we're going to make a quick salsa. First we're going to start by cutting in half a red onion. Olive oil. Give that salsa a quick mix, not too much. Now the crayfish is finished, we'll grab that out of the butter, place it onto the plate, serve that with a bit of our fresh salsa. Perfect. Little drizzle of olive oil. Spot on.
Let's go.
All right, this looks good, doesn't it?
It does. I'm not looking at it, I'm eating it.
Southern rock lobster with...
Salsa.
Oh, yeah. And the wine, Devil's Corner.
There's hardly any of yours left, too. I'm at Richmond. The village is just over there. You can spend a nice afternoon looking through the antique shops, the galleries, the cafes. It's a bit of fun. You can also come down and have a picnic next to the river. Behind me is Australia's oldest bridge. But what a lot of people don't know about Richmond is it's also home to Pooley's Vineyard. And that produces one of Australia's finest wines. And that's where I'm off to next. Matt, what wine are we going to drink?
We're drinking the Pooley 2011 Coal River Riesling today.
A Riesling?
Yes, a Riesling, yeah.
Okay.
We're probably best known for our Rieslings here in the valley.
I'm going to confess, my experience of Rieslings is when I was in my late teens, 20s. We used to buy a Riesling because it was quite cheap. You could get drunk, but it's put me off for life. I'm sorry, Matt.
You were probably drinking varieties that weren't so well known, and it was labelled Riesling, and which was a bit of a no-no back in the early days.
So I've got to move on and give it a go.
Move on, give it a go. You'll be really, really quite impressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does this Riesling go with?
Typical Riesling is really well known for seafoods, for our fresh Tasmanian produce.
That's nothing like what I used to drink. Francis, this is a beautiful place to live and work. Is it a good place to raise salmon?
The best place in the world to raise fish. This, as you can see here, is the most beautiful, pristine environment. Just around the corner is the Great Southern Ocean, and we have lovely, clean, cold water, and the fish just love it. Huon is the world's most loved salmon. And that means that we love what we do. We love growing the best product that we possibly can. Chefs love preparing our product. And of course, the end consumer loves buying it and eating it. So Huon is the world's most loved salmon.
And will it go nice with a nice tipple of Tassie wine? Silly question.
Absolutely.
Silly question.
Absolutely ridiculous question. Of course it will.
Now I'm making a sushi roll with fresh salmon and some fresh vegetables. This is sushi rice. This is really good fresh salmon. This salmon is the best in the world. Fresh beetroot and also locally grown fresh carrot, and some fresh daikon radish, and some cucumber. I think avocado and salmon very good together. So now I'm making salmon nigiri with Tasmanian fresh wasabi. And this is really, really tasty. With Tasmanian fresh wasabi, nice and creamy and hot. So that's how you make nigiri.
So this is a combination then of the Atlantic salmon and the Puli Riesling. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I'm very lucky today. I'm sat in the beautiful West Tamar, looking at the river, about to get a glass of Pinot Gris. Did I pronounce that right?
Pinot Gris, yes.
Ooh, now that's a little bit different. That looks like it's got a tiny hint of pink, am I right? Or is...
Yes, Chartley Estate Pinot Gris has a slight hint of colour. We find that when the sun is shining on the grapes ripen up and give a little bit of colour to the skins, and when the winemaker makes our Pinot Gris and the wine sits on the skins, it just gives this slight hint of colour. The Tamar Valley has a climate all of its own. It has perfect altitude, perfect sunshine hours, and it has a fantastic terroir. The soil is one of the best soils that you can get for growing grapes in Tasmania.
And all that goes into here?
And all that goes into that wine.
Peter, you represent Adelaide Bay Seafoods. What's the principal activity there?
We're basically just processing of abalone.
In particular, what's
black lip and green lip.
What's the difference between the two? I've heard of black lip, but not so much green lip.
Well, green lip's probably the most expensive of the two, I guess because of its rarity and it's got a slightly delicate flavour.
Yeah.
Texture-wise, it's probably also quite delicate.
So you've got some green abalone now. You can haul them up. Is this how we do it?
Yeah, I'll just wait for the diver to give me it.
All right. Well, come on, pull it up.
Oh.
Very steady, this boat, isn't it?
Yeah, it is good. The grass.
Okay, today we're cooking some green lip abalone from northern Tasmania. The first thing we need to do is remove the abalone from the shell and the gut. Now you have the abalone. Now I'm going to bash it to help tenderise the meat, so we just wrap it in a tea towel to stop it from running away when you hit it, and then you just give it a good bash, give it a few good hits. You can have a look at the abalone and you can see now that the foot's split and now the meat will be tender and ready to eat. Okay, now we're going to slice the abalone up, starting at one end. You need to keep the abalone slices as thin as possible. We're going to put that into a nice hot pan with a little bit of oil. Get that abalone into the pan. It's nice and hot. You can see the abalone is already curling up. Now we want to put a little bit of salt, some cracked black pepper, some Chartley Estate Pinot Gris. Give that pan and a little bit of lemon juice. Reduce that liquid off, and there you have it. Abalone, lemon, white wine and cracked black pepper. Perfect.
So, now be very careful how you answer this.
Go on.
Is it better than,
Launceston is a very pretty city. And you may not realise it, but we are in fact only 5 minutes from the city centre. This is the Cataract Gorge, and a more beautiful place you'd be hard-pressed to find. Now, the river here flows into the Tamar, and the Tamar Valley region is well known for its wines. However, if you head in the opposite direction, south, you come to a place called Relbia and the foothills of Ben Lomond. And there they produce a whole different variety of wines. And that's where we're going now. Jeremy, this is a pretty spot.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? I mean, we're lucky. The gardens were established in the late 1880s, so yeah, we've got beautiful established trees and a wonderful grounds.
Okay. Now, give me an idea of what you're producing here. What sort of wines you're turning out?
So we make a range of different things. Our focus really, or our specialties, are Pinot Noir and sparkling wines, but we also make smaller amounts of Chardonnay, Riesling, Pinot Gris and Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. It's quality, not quantity.
That's our focus, yeah.
Now, you're the winemaker.
Yeah.
You're aware that we're cooking a trout.
Yep.
What would you recommend going with that from your stable?
Tasmanian Pinot tends to be a bit more elegant, nice sort of nicely structured, lighter tannins, very soft and supple in the mouth, and can be a really good match for dishes like ocean trout.
Frances, Hugh in aquaculture, you're mainly in the salmon business, but you also grow trout.
Yes, we do grow trout.
Okay.
And we have done for many years.
Tell me, as a layman looking at the two fish filleted on the bench, they don't look very different to me. What is the difference?
There is a slight difference in texture, there's a slight difference in colour. Trout tend to colour up more and they do have a little bit higher oil content.
Okay, have you got a personal favourite?
I'm happy with both, but a lot of chefs actually prefer trout. Right. They seem to think that it's more of a specialty product and they enjoy working with it, and I think they really appreciate the really vivid colour.
Okay, today we're here at the New Norfolk salmon ponds. We've got some beautiful big salmon here behind us, but I'm going to be cooking one of their relatives. It's a sea-run trout today. We're going to start by cutting off the tail section. This is the best part of the trout. Now we need to season the skin, which helps it crisp up while we're cooking it. And just give that spread that around. Right, now we need to get some butter in the pan. And we're going to place the skin down first. Okay, there we have our trout sizzling away, and we're going to let that skin crisp right up before we turn it. Okay, now we need to season the meat of the fish. A little bit more salt and some white pepper. This is the secret to a good trout, not black pepper, white pepper. Now while the trout's finishing cooking, I'm going to make a quick salad with some radishes, red onion, bit of fennel and some micro herbs. We're going to add some olive oil, and that's all. Okay, now our fish is cooked. We're going to grab that out the pan gently, place it onto the plate. That's perfect. Now we're going to put a small handful of salad just to the side of it, just like that. There you go. There's a beautiful ocean run trout with a fennel salad. Perfect. Lucky we're not at a trout farm, or I'd have them on the plate.
Sublime location, good food, excellent wine, and the most important,
great company.
Exactly.
So is it better than anything?
I just couldn't say.
With its combination of flat plains, warm to hot climate and an ample supply of water for irrigation, the Riverina has become one of the most agriculturally productive regions of Australia. Bordered to the south by the state of Victoria and the east by the Great Dividing Range, this combination of high soil fertility and abundant water is able to produce 90% of all of our ice, 90% of all the citrus fruit we eat, and even more surprisingly, 1 in every 4 glasses of all the wine we consume in Australia. But it's not just about growing things, it's also about turning one thing into another.
Yes. It's a beautiful building, isn't it? What did it used to be?
A flour mill. It started as a flour mill. And the main ingredient of licorice is flour.
And the licorice now is probably a huge marketing experience for you. Yeah.
It's the licorice that's made it successful.
What does licorice do? What effect does it have?
It's supposed to be actually really good for your digestion, your respiratory system, and also your heart and blood pressure and so on. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now the other side of the business is chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody loves chocolate.
Yeah, it is, and it sells regardless of what the economy's like, which is really good.
Yeah.
So they coat everything, starting with the licorice and now lots of nuts and fruit as well, and it's all organic.
Okay. Oh, well, yeah, that's important.
It is important.
You're making it organically.
Yes.
Right.
Thus far, it's all been about seafood and wine, but licorice is a food, and sunlight in a bottle really brings out the flavour.
Julie, you're the winemaker here at De Boitley.
Yes, I am. I've been here almost 23 years.
That's a long time.
It is. I've seen the winery grow enormously over that period of time.
It's still a family business, isn't it, from 1928?
That is correct. Vittorio De Boitley started in 1928 and today it is operated by his grandchildren.
Let's talk about the wine we're drinking.
Verdelho is a variety that you don't see a lot of it in Australia. It's a Portuguese variety originally. It's a lovely fruity wine, has lots of tropical notes, some honeysuckle characters. And because we put a small percentage in some oak, we get some nice nutty and textural characters to add some nice length of flavour.
Okay, well, let's give Dean a go. Chin chin.
You'll have noticed we've switched from wine to coffee. Well, we're about to wrap things up and we just felt like a change. Besides, Jack doesn't like wine or coffee, but he does like licorice.
Better than sex.
From a population of only 500,000, Tasmania produces a variety of quality seafood that punches way above its weight.
Tasmanian Atlantic salmon and ocean-run trout thrive in the island's pristine, cool climate waters, as do superb fat-gilled Pacific oysters.
This same cool water is the breeding ground of the truly magnificent southern rock lobster, a huge variety of shellfish, and is home to the most sought-after fish delicacy in the world, black and green lip abalone.
On the land, it's the same story. Cool climate vineyards are found in every corner of Tasmania. These vineyards, often only boutique in size, produce a huge range of award-winning red and white wines.
2 weeks spent touring Tasmania's wineries is an excellent way to spend a holiday. And when you add in the food, the whole experience goes into top gear.
Aussie holiday. Aussie holiday.
Want to be part of the show? Follow us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, or just email airtracks@bigpond.com.